Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Algo. Today's host is Scott Farrell, and he is their Strategic Accounts Manager for the U.S. and Canada, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Scott will answer them at the end of today's presentation. Scott, thank you so much for being with us today. We greatly appreciate it. I am finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Okay, good morning, and thanks, Julie, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, again. Yeah, my name is Scott Farrell. I'm with Algo Communication Products. I'm based in Ottawa, Canada, and I do have responsibility for the North American market from a strategic perspective. So today, we'll be reviewing some slides that'll talk about our portfolio. You can see an image at the bottom there. For those of you who are not familiar with Algo, we're a manufacturer based in Canada, global in scope. We've been in business for quite a number of years, always in the telephony manufacturing space. And we've basically evolved to a company that build IP endpoints for paging, visual notification. We build door intercoms and accessories that we'll be touching on. And we have some new products that I'll be touching on today that are going to be coming out later this summer, early fall. So we'll touch on the factors that we see that are driving the adoption of IP paging. I'll give you a solution overview, detailed product technology discussion, applications and use cases. We can review some of those, and then again, what's new and coming later this year. So what we're seeing in the industry is critical safety and security is a huge driver of adoption of this technology. To be able to get a warning out immediately. There's no better way than public address and live audio with visual capabilities as well. So we're seeing wide adoption to address this use case, and our product set ties in very, very nicely. We're supported on multiple platforms, and we can tie into a customer's environment over their network via SIP to their UC platform, and we can leverage their network and do things like multicast and do all kinds of different notification strategies for them. We're also seeing people building out a very robust data infrastructure because a lot of the operational technology that they're receiving today connects to their network, whether it be a speaker, a phone, or a security camera for that matter. And again, all of our devices are network-based devices that connect to a PoE connection on a customer's network. From a configuration perspective, the fact that our devices are in the network, they all have a web interface for management, so it simplifies the deployment and the ongoing supervision of the solution. And then as I mentioned, we're supported on multiple platforms, whether they be hosted or premise-based. We're supported on over 60 different platforms. From a vertical perspective, we're very well positioned in any vertical that you can imagine that has public address. We're seeing exponential growth in the education, logistics, and manufacturing sectors. We're very healthy in all of the others. Retail is growing exponentially. We're doing some interesting projects with some airports in the transportation area as well. So the reason that people are adopting this technology is the simplicity of it. We don't have a head end. We have no servers. We have no software that are running on a customer's environment. We literally connect our PoE endpoints to the customer's network, and then we leverage the network and their UC backend to drive outcomes. All of the feature sets are embedded within our endpoints. The speakers are self-amplified. The visual notification devices have multiple colors available, and that's all controlled over the network, leveraging the network and the UC platform. And we also build adapters that you'll see in the presentation that can tie into a customer's legacy infrastructure. We also build a device for monitoring and managing a customer's infrastructure on site in their subnet. And that's something we'll be talking about because that's being now expanded into a cloud offering where we can hit multiple sites. And that's one of the new offerings that's going to be coming out later this year. We'll be talking a little more about that. So we build a variety of speakers, surface mounted, ceiling, vertical specific, like the 8190, for instance, was designed for the education vertical. What you'll notice is, the 8188 in ceiling speaker and the 8198 look identical. There is a difference. One is PoE, one is PoE plus. And we've done that with the 8186 horn speaker as well. We've introduced a PoE plus version of it. It's called the 8196. So the reason that we did this is in the past, customers would have to home run and drop to each speaker that they were deploying in their environment. So the 8180 the 8190, the 8189. And what we're finding is customers are coming back and saying, is there any way that we can have a strategy to use less network infrastructure? So what we've done is we've introduced satellite technology in both of our horn speaker and the in-ceiling speaker. So what we can do is by you supplying a PoE plus drop in the environment, we can connect a host speaker to that, and then we can connect up to 3 satellite speakers. So that dramatically reduces the number of drops that you have to run. It reduces the number of data ports. And of course, the satellite speakers are significantly cost reduced because they're not a full IP endpoint. And the strategy for connecting them is very simple. It's just an RJ45 patch cable between each speaker, and you can have up to 50 feet of length recommended between each hop. So again, we've done that with our in-ceiling speaker, and we've also done that with the horn speaker. So when you get into logistics centers, you'll see in a lot of areas where you have racking, and customers want to have coverage in every one of those aisles, and they can be extensively long. In the past, they would have put 2 speakers back to back and had to run 2 drops. Now they can run a single drop and have that back-to-back scenario. If depending on how noisy the environment is, you can basically extend to basically having a single PoE plus drop and then up to 3 satellite horn speakers. What you have to take into account is the noise in the environment, and then the power that you're sharing, right? So whether it's the in-ceiling speaker or this horn speaker, in a standalone format, the 8196 or the 8198 are PoE plus speakers that deliver 16 watts of power. When you connect a second speaker, we dynamically control and distribute and even out the power. So you'll have 2 connected, you basically have 2 8-watt speakers. If you have 3, you have 3 5.3, and if you have 4, you have 4 4-watt speakers. So you just need to be cognizant of that and make sure that that you have enough power to address the requirements within your environment. So for instance, where they show in the third square, you show 1 drop servicing 4 speakers, but if you need that 8 watts of power instead of 4 watts of power, you could run 2 drops and then basically have a cluster with 2 drops driving 2 host speakers and 2 satellites, giving you that 8 watts of power, that extra power. We also build visual notification devices. So the 8128 is a white LED strobe light. It's been in our portfolio for quite some time. Based on feedback from the field, we were asked for a multicolored solution. So the 8138 was introduced, and it comes equipped with 4 LEDs, red, green, blue, amber, and of course those can be triggered to do different colors and flash patterns based on the workflow that you design in the environment. And again, the 8190 is shown here, vertical specific for the education vertical initially, but we actually see it in a lot of different scenarios now. But with that digital clock, the integrated call button, and the speaker array surface mounted, we also offer it with the red, green, blue, amber technology as well for visual notification. So we build 2 adapters. Excuse me. I'll be getting into more detail later on in the presentation how these are used. The 8301 basically provides a balance line output to a customer's legacy infrastructure. So we can preserve that infrastructure and augment it with IP. I'll talk a little bit more about that. The 8373, it's designed to replace the need for a zone controller. So where a customer would have had a zone controller in their legacy infrastructure, we would deploy the 8373 and maintain the integrity of those speaker runs. So with these adapters, we dramatically simplify the customer's infrastructure. We get rid of a lot of the older devices that would have been there. For instance, if they had a music source that was a CD player or whatever, now we simplify that. It's just basically an auxiliary input that connects into our device, and then they can connect the music source to this, and then we'll multicast that and stream that onto their network or play it out over a legacy environment. As I mentioned, there's lots of feature sets that are embedded in these devices, as you'll see when we look at the use cases. What I'm finding is the Algo 8301 is becoming pertinent in a lot of deployments where a lot of the logic is programmed in this device, and the customer SIP registers this device into their environment multiple times to trigger different events in the solution set. So you'll see that as we go through the slides. We build a variety of accessories as well. So there's some intelligence in these. These are not IP endpoints. These are all single wire. The audio plate is actually a 2-wire connection, and it needs an 8301 to be paired with it. The other devices can connect into the relay input in any one of our adapters or speakers. So the fact that you're connecting this device into our speaker we are aware of it, and we know that it's in service, and we have some functionality that we can deliver. So for instance, with the 1204 volume control, I can connect that to a speaker and turn down the speakers in a gymnasium. But if there was an event that took place and you wanted to override that mute in an emergency situation and it was triggered, we would override that and play that audio message. The other thing we've done with the volume control is, in the past, it was intended to be tied to a single speaker or an adapter controlling the volume of an amplifier. But what we've done now is we can allow you to control a group of speakers on the network. So that's a new feature that was just recently introduced. So you basically connect the volume control to one of your speakers, and then all of the other speakers in that area that you want to have be controlled over the network will basically ping that 1204 volume control that's connected to the other speaker to get their volume setting. So again, these are accessories that we build, and the relay inputs are available on all of our speakers and adapters. And it doesn't have to be our accessory. You can have logical equipment in your environment that can provide a normally open and normally closed contact to us, and then you can trigger a workflow. We build a variety of door intercoms. There's two that are audio only, and then there's two that are audio and video. These are all outdoor rated devices. They all have the capability of releasing a door, being paired with network infrastructure that we have in place. The 8063 IP controller gets paired with the 8036 or the 8039 or the 8021. The 8021 and 8039 also have onboard normally open, normally closed capabilities, but depending on your deployment strategy, you'll select the proper wiring of that. So the 8201 is a SIP PoE intercom, direct connect to the network. The 8028 is an interesting two-piece solution. It's great for retrofit. So legacy infrastructure that was FXS, FXO controlled, or even proprietary digital connections, they could be up to a long distance away from a P system or a PBX. So what we've done is the 8028 is a two-piece solution, in that the controller that connects to your network and would SIP register, would be placed in the IDF, but we allow you to do up to 1,000 feet away on a single pair to the door station. So where you're not necessarily going to be able to get a network drop, this is great for retrofit for some of those older analog and digital proprietary systems. And then the 8039 and the 8036, they support H.264 video, so they both have video capabilities. They're both customizable, so the keypad on the 8039 can be set up in such a way that if somebody pushed the call button, we can play a WAV file, and for this department, press 1, for that department, press 2. And then when the call is established, of course, there's an audio path. If the device that they're talking on supports H.264 video, they'd be able to view the video on either of these devices. If they don't have that ability with an H.264 capable device, they can just bookmark the IP address and bring the web video up from the device on that subnet. And the 8036, again, audio and video. It actually can do two-way video if there was a use case for that. What's nice about this device is it's a graphic touch display that's highly customizable. So you can have different button layouts. You can upload a number of images, informational pages, directories, and so on and so forth. So highly customizable. And again, all these devices are outdoor rated and can be facilitated to release a normally open and normally closed contact for door release. So the 8300 controller is a device that we designed a couple of years ago to drop in on a subnet. And basically what it does is it gives you a single pane view of all the Algo devices that are in a customer's subnet. So, in a school system, where they have a number of schools, they would have required an 8300 at each school. And many customers do that. We're working with a large airport. They have multiple terminals, so they have multiple 8300s deployed in different subnets. So based on feedback, what we've done is we've built a cloud version of that, and I'll be talking about it, but we're going to continue with the 8300 controller as well as a physical device that you can buy, deploy it on the subnet. Gives you a single pane view of all of the Algo devices. It's great and improves the speed of installation for technicians on site. So when they plug it in, they can click on a locate button to go out and locate all the Algo devices, and they basically can log into them and configure them. And then ongoing, this device can monitor any of the devices for in service. So if somebody were to disconnect a device or something went out of service, this can alert you. You'll be able to manage your firmware from here and upload firmware and configuration files. You'll be able to make bulk changes to the devices with this 8300 controller. So IP enablement is a very popular solution out there today. I run into this quite often. And there's a very large variety of amplified equipment that's out there. And what you'll typically see in a lot of environments is an analog terminal adapter deployed, tied into the customer's existing telephony answering module that's then connected to the amplifier. So we don't do that. We do things a little differently, right? We're not an FXO or an FXS device. We provide a SIP registration to the UC platform and a balance line output directly to the amplified equipment. We also introduce wideband. So we have wideband is available on all of our endpoints, our speakers and adapters. So you'll notice improved speech intelligibility with this technology as well. So basically, you call a device, it answers, and you're paging out to the amplifier. Literally, IP-based paging has become as simple as deploying an endpoint to a PoE infrastructure, registering the device, calling the device, and speaking, and you have, paging. There's a bunch of feature sets that are embedded in our endpoints, as I had mentioned. So there's a microphone in all of our speakers that facilitates two-way talkback. We also have a feature for ambient noise detection, so we can actually sense noise in an environment. So you don't have to set a horn speaker, for instance, for the worst case scenario in an environment. And then we will adapt to that noise that gets introduced in the environment. So we can basically throttle up and down automatically. So again, very, very simple to deploy, very simple to configure, all via a web-based interface. So in these hybrid models, what we're seeing is, in schools, customers that are doing large migrations and they can't, remove everything at once, we basically can give them a lot of flexibility with this technology. So what I'm depicting here is a single SIP registration to an Algo 8301. And when I call that device and answers, my voice is being broadcast to all of the devices on the network that support multicast, right? So our Algo endpoints, a variety of phones, your Yealinks, your Polys, some of the newer Cisco 3PP phones, some of the new Avaya J-series phones, they all support RTP multicast. So we can basically send your voice to speakers, phones, and of course we can augment the environment where we would tie our adapters into legacy amplifiers, and we can also push voice there. So we have 50 multicast channels available on any one of our devices, and then we can basically slice and dice this environment any way you'd like, right? So you can answer, press 1 for this amplifier, press 2 for that amplifier, press 4 to page all, or you could have multiple SIP registrations to be able to have direct dial into a certain multicast channel and zone, as we would call it. So our solution components, what I like to show here is the fact that we're basically building blocks, and you're going to take our devices and you're going to assemble them to address a customer's outcome. So I've talked about SIP, I've talked about multicast, I've talked about our accessories. The network time protocol is important because we have a calendaring application that lives in the 8301, and of course it's always in sync. And what we've recently introduced is the RESTful API suite. So now you can actually have customers design their own custom software that can send URL messages to our devices to trigger outcomes. So again, very popular with our product set is loud ringing. And don't forget, these devices are multifaceted. So not only can this 8180 that's in the picture here be a loud ringing device, when a page comes, it can also be a device that receives paging. It can also be involved in emergency alerts, right? So they don't have to be dedicated to a single use case. This just depicts that ambient noise capability I was speaking of. So the microphone will pick up noise in the environment and self-amplify. This is available on all of our speakers, not just the horn speaker. Any one of our speakers has this ability. You just enable that feature set within the GUI. Here's a depiction of the scheduling adapter. So basically we have the scheduling application that resides on the Algo 8301. And then an administrator would log in, they would build out their schedule, select their zones and tones that they want to play. So there's a gig of memory available to you on our 8301 paging adapter, or any of our speakers for that matter. So you can upload customized content for bell tones, and you'll see one of the use cases for emergency alerts, for instance. So you can basically register this device multiple times in your environment and trigger events to take place where you're going to do different flash patterns and play different messages. And those messages, those audio messages, you can have them done in studio and then have them uploaded into your device. So again, very, very simple to deploy. very simple to manage, and you'll see the 8301 has a lot of functionality that's embedded within it. This is just a depiction of an accessory being tied into a speaker. So again, we have relay inputs on our adapters and speakers, and then you basically, once you connect the device, you drive that outcome. And in this case, we would push the button and we could do a multicast event, or we could make a call to target, play a WAV file, or we could basically do a SIP call to another audio device and set up a two-way communication path. So here's what's new and coming. So we're continuing to evolve our platform. We have the 8190S that I showed you earlier, right? So it had a digital clock, it has the strobe light capability, but based on feedback from the field, people want more, right? So in some instances, they weren't able to have just a digital clock. They needed to have an analog clock in the elementary schools. They wanted to be able to, push content, to a screen. They wanted to have scrolling capabilities. So what we've done is designed the 8410 IP display speaker. So what this is a 15.6-inch wide-angle viewing HD LCD display. There's a 3-speaker line array in this speaker. This would surface mount. This model will surface mount into the area that you want. There's a 3-color LED strobe light. There's an embedded microphone for that two-way communication. Then again, you're going to be able to customize the experience that a customer is going to have with this device. So you'll be able to, paint an analog or a digital clock. You could have scrolling text messages or static images. One of the things we're going to be working on is visual paging. So where you're in environments that are really loud, where you have hearing impaired people, when there's an audio page going off, we'll be able to transcribe that and put the text onto this screen. It too will have that gig of memory. It'll be a multicast SIP capable device. It'll require PoE plus power. It has the relay capability in it as well. And what we are going to do is build a 2-sided version of this. So think of your hallway perpendicular mounted off the wall or hanging from the ceiling. You'll have dual screens, dual audio, with this device. So this is scheduled to come out in the August to September timeframe. The other device that we're designing, we've had a lot of demand for just being able to have a very simple digital clock. People don't want to have to, go and do synchronization of their clocks any longer. And, with network time protocol, why would you, right? Everything's in sync with the network. So what we've done is we're building the 8401 and the 8402. So what's depicted here is the 8402, which is the dual-sided one with a mount that would, perpendicular mount on a wall. There'll also be a single-sided surface mount. These will be PoE devices. And again, just a simple clock that you would basically, connect into your environment and then let NTP take care of keeping it in sync. So I talked about the 8300 and the 8300 being the physical device. And what we're doing now is taking that content and pushing it to the cloud. So where you've got school districts or companies that have, hundreds of locations, they don't want to necessarily have an 8300 at each site. What we're going to do is allow them to subscribe as a service and pay monthly per endpoint. So it's going to be, I believe the price is $5 a month per Algo device. And then what would happen is they would log into their portal. They would have a series of site IDs, and they would be able to see their entire environment. So if you had a school district with a couple hundred schools, or a customer that had a couple of hundred manufacturing facilities, and they wanted to be able to see everything in a single portal, that's what we're going to be offering. So with this, it's coming out later this summer. It is in beta right now. The first release of this is only going to be for monitoring the devices and notification of different alarm conditions, and of course a single pane view that will allow you to connect into them. But this will have parity with what we're doing with the premise-based unit, in that you'll be able to do bulk changes, you'll be able to control your firmware and push out config files and so on and so forth with the cloud version. So more information will be made available on our website as this becomes generally available, as will for the other two devices that I showed you. So again, here's kind of what the screenshot would take a look like. So you have this centralized management portal that you would log into, and then you would basically see all of your devices and the status that they're in. So that's basically the overview that I have for you today. One thing I do like to point out is that our sales organization is always available to answer questions. Our support organization is available Monday to Friday from 7:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon PST, and that's a free service. You can reach out to them at any time via phone or email. The other thing is, there's a lot of great information on our website. There's guides that will take you through the different hosted service providers that we're registered with or certified with, and it gives you detailed instructions. So there's a lot of great information. The ability to gain access to firmware is there. So any device that you buy from us, as we release new firmware and new features, you're entitled to that. There's no cost for that. You can basically go and download that firmware. And just recently, our team put together this catalog. I mean, we've been talking about a lot of different things today, and what will happen is if you go to this catalog, basically what it does is gives you a couple of slides that are going to help you explain the technology to your customer and how it works, but it gives you this product key, which is really nice, in that you're able to have a visual. And as new products, you'll see that the LCD display is not on here. The 8401 and the 8402 are not on here, and that's because they're not available at this time. So everything that's available would be in this catalog, and then if you need more information, you can just simply click on the device, and it'll bring up a little more detail, as well as the product sheet, user guides, and access to firmware. So that's everything I have for you today. Is there any questions at this point?
Scott, thank you so much for all of that information, and we're always interested to know where we can find all the information that you just shared and the support and all of that. So thank you so much for that. And I do have some questions from the audience. Let's get started with the first one. Here it is. For your PoE devices, does it include a PoE injector?
No, because we would expect that a customer would have a PoE network available to them. If they don't, and it's just a regular LAN infrastructure without PoE, the customer would supply their own standard 48-volt PoE injector. So any standard PoE injector that delivers 802.3AF or AT, would be compatible with our devices.
Thank you, Scott. Next question here. Are there any delays for the satellite speaker system?
You mean delay? Do you mean delay in delivery of product, or delay in delivery of sound or audio? I'll answer both.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
I believe it's both. So thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. So we've been very strategic in our manufacturing, and we've been able to keep a lot of our product in stock and available. The longest lead times I've seen so far are 6 to 8 weeks at times. But typically, if you have a project that's upcoming, feel free to reach out to me. Make me aware of it. I'll feed that into our operations teams, because we are being very strategic in how we go to market right now. Of course, with the conditions that exist today, you're all experiencing it with all manufacturers. But we've been very, very strategic and very good. From an audio perspective, there is no delay that you would notice at all. I mean, the satellite speakers are RJ45 connected from the host, and you will not experience any type of delay. And as long as the customer has a properly engineered network, I mean, I have customers that have literally thousands of speakers on their networks, and we do not have issues, at all. I mean, it's not a huge payload. We're just delivering multicast streams on that network.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott, so much. Next question here. What are the warranties on your speaker devices? Yeah,
so it's a 1-year warranty from the date of purchase / manufacture. So what we do is we allow 3 months of shelf time and then 1 year. So 15 months from the date of manufacture. I will tell you that our products, we have no moving parts. Everything's solid state, are very, very high quality. We don't get a lot of product back. So if you were to have a failure, we'd be quite suspect of that. And you can reach out to me if it's outside of warranty. I'd be interested in understanding what happened to that device. We don't get a lot of devices back. So it is a 1-year warranty. If you did want to purchase, it's not like you go on our site and you can buy additional warranty. A lot of our customers don't buy it because they don't need it. But some organizations do feel more comfortable, and we look at that on an as-go forward basis. So if you came to me and said, you know what, I bought 100 speakers, I actually want to have an extra 2 years of warranty on them, we would sell you that warranty.
Great news. Thank you, Scott. Next question. Will your web GUI be accessible remotely?
So it is today, right? So as long as you have access to that network, so all of my devices today have a web interface. And as long as I have access to that network, I can log into any one of those devices. Excuse me, sorry about that. So I can log into any one of my devices on that network. And then of course with the cloud offering that we're going to have, or even with the premise-based, so the premise-based 8300, as long as you have connectivity into that network, hit the 8300, you'll see all of our devices. With the cloud, you'll log into the portal from anywhere anywhere on the internet, and you'll log into that cloud portal. You'll be able to see and access all of your devices from that portal.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. You may have just answered this next question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Can you connect an IP phone to the 8301 IP paging adapter?
Yeah, you wouldn't physically connect it, right? So what would happen is, so there's two ways that you would basically interface with an 8301 with an IP endpoint. So with an IP phone that is registered into a SIP server, you would then, have the ability to pick up that phone and dial a phone number. So what would happen is, with our device, we would be registered into that common SIP infrastructure. So you would basically dial, for instance, if I'm 5555, and that's the page extension for that speaker, and you dial that, you're going to connect, and then you'll have an audio path. So that's one way of doing it via SIP. And then the other way is, of course, with multicast, right? So all of the phones that I mentioned earlier, Yealink, Poly, the new J series phones, the new Cisco phones, Audio Codes phones, they all support multicast now. So what you're capable of doing, I'll give you an example with Poly. They have a feature called Polycom Group Page, right? It's built into their phones, where they have 25 unique channels that they can page to on all their phones. Well, we understand that paging algorithm. We have it built into our speakers. You literally can pick up a phone, a Poly phone, no SIP registration whatsoever, push a page key, and do a Poly group page to any of our devices, okay? And we can do that vice versa back to the Poly phones. With Yealink's Audio Codes, they support standard RTP multicast. And again, if you log into a Yealink phone, you'll see that they have the ability to do paging amongst their phones. And then we basically just subscribe our devices on the same channels and ports, and we can page out, they can page out to us, we can page to them, no problem at all. So those are the two ways that we would interface to an IP phone.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. Couple more questions here. Are all your horn devices rainproof IP67 rated for outdoor use?
Yes, so they're IP67 outdoor rated. That's the 8186, which is our legacy speaker, the new 8196, and the satellite speakers. And another speaker that will be coming out in July, which I didn't have yet. I understand it's July. I just actually had some email about this earlier. We are going to be coming out with an IP69 rated device. So it was originally going to be IP68, which means it could be submersed in water up to 1 meter. But we're also looking at IP69 now. We're going to do IP69 testing, which would be high pressure jet water being forced upon it. So the speakers that you see today definitely can be installed in a wet environment. They come with the gaskets and so on and so forth. And you have to install them properly. And then the new one that's coming, it'll be in late July. We'll have, my understanding will be IP69 rated. So yeah, definitely no problem there.
Thank you, Scott. Regarding the horns, are they also under a 1-year warranty, like you previously mentioned, a 1-year warranty?
Yep, they are. That's correct.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott, for answering all of those questions for us today. And thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. And if anyone has any further questions, Of course, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to review any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please visit us at www.microcom.us. And remember, this presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel, so you can view all of this information from Scott again. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Appreciate your time. And Scott, again, thank you for all of your valuable information for us.
No problem. Anytime.
Bye-bye now.
Bye now. Cheers.